What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about if the Indiana Jones game is coming out on PlayStation 5 or PlayStation in general. So this was obviously one of the biggest, besides the fact that they were making the game, and that was obviously exciting and big. Then you had kind of fractures, and you had people talking about how terrible the studio is and how terrible the games that they've recently made are, and, you know, about like the worry of Indiana Jones and the quality. And then you also had people really, I would say at the same time, saying, okay, well, what about PlayStation? Is it coming out on PlayStation? Now, it didn't say anything. They didn't say if it was coming out on it. It didn't actually say if it was even coming out on Xbox, right? But obviously, we know, considering what Bethesda is up to, that it will be coming out on Xbox and PC. So the thing is, would it make its way to PlayStation? Well, there's two kind of conflicting ways we can go about it. We'll talk about both of those as the video goes on. As always, make sure if you guys are new here, you guys are subscribed, have the bell icon turned on so you know all these videos go up. And if you guys want to follow my Twitter account, PodcastNow15 is my Twitter handle. I'll leave a link for it in the description below, or of course you can just look me up on Twitter. So, you know, the first thing people will say is, you know, it would be kind of silly if they didn't do it on PlayStation. You could go to the sales kind of stuff and say, all right, well, you know, would it sell enough? Would it make back its money on just Xbox or Xbox and PC? And you could say, okay, well, PlayStation would help with that, right? If you put it on PlayStation. So that's one. Another thing people are saying is if the fact of the matter is they announced the game now. Now the sale, remember, hasn't gone through yet. Microsoft does, at this current time, does not own Bethesda. It's going through, and if you believe Phil Spencer, and I believe him to a fair extent, especially right now, like this is like legal stuff. Legally, he's not allowed to talk to Bethesda about the plan. He has said that before, where he's like, hey, look, like I want to answer, I would give you answers, but legally, because we do not own them, I can't go to Todd Howard, to Pete Hines, and all these guys. I can't go there and say, hey, here's the plan. You're only making games for us now. Like, he can't do that legally until it goes through, which I believe is like June at the absolute latest. So within the next couple months, we are going to start, I would assume, hearing things. So you could argue, all right, well, they're making this game, and they decided to make this game, and they showed it now. So if they show it now before the sale's gone through, does that mean they have PlayStation in mind? It also, I would even take it a step further and say, did Microsoft have anything to do with them doing Indiana Jones or no? I actually don't think they did. I think Bethesda just behind closed doors over the last several months or years has been working on this, and now they finally obtained the rights and they're able to do it. So I don't even think Microsoft had any. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we'll find out that they did. But again, like, if you're not allowed to talk to them, if you're not allowed to strategize with the companies together, then why would you have anything to do with them making an Indiana Jones game? You know what I mean? So there's a couple of things, there's like gray areas that we just don't know yet. So I would say there's something to that, to hearing like, okay, well, they announce it now. You know, again, like the sale hasn't gone through, so like, is PlayStation on their mind? Like, it's definitely possible. I do like to think about the whole, because look, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're gonna say the whole thing with PlayStation, I know people will say this, like, you know, PlayStation takes these games away from other consoles. I mean, Microsoft does the same thing. I know people will say, well, it's also on PC. It's still exclusive. It's on Xbox and it's on PC. It's not on the Nintendo Switch. It's not on the PlayStation. It is exclusive to two different platforms. Okay, it's not everybody can play it, because you can't. And the same thing, you could say the same thing for PlayStation. Not everybody can play it. You can't say everybody. And so if you want to say that like it's anti-consumer for PlayStation to do it, I will always stand on it's also anti-Xbox. Just because you throw in a computer, which is very expensive, by the way, doesn't mean like you're making it all this much better. I do just want to throw that out there, just to be fair. I have nothing against exclusives. I get why companies do exclusives. Maybe I should have said these things towards the beginning. Like, I get that if this is a Xbox exclusive Indiana Jones game, that's enormous. That's massive, right? And good for them. Like, I applaud them. I'm sure it would do good for them, all that good stuff. But you have to just be fair. If you're going to criticize Sony for it, you have to criticize Microsoft for it. And again, don't tell me, well, it's also on PC. Doesn't matter. That's just one additional place. One thing somebody said to me on Twitter, which really kind of opened my eyes, is, and I don't know if this has changed. I don't know if maybe they were like late to the party, but they said that PlayStation didn't retweet this. And that is something actually very interesting, that, yeah, you know what? The day they announced this, I didn't see PlayStation comment whatsoever. And again, comment doesn't just have to mean they put out a post and say, you know, we're looking forward to Indiana Jones, like we have it in the works, like it's in the works for PlayStation 5 as well. Like, not even just that, but they didn't retweet it. They didn't post their version of the trailer, right? Any of that stuff. It's just, but now I don't even know if Microsoft did it. So that's a question you'd have to, I guess we'd have to kind of find out as well. But that could be potentially telling, right? And honestly, though, I would say maybe it's just, again, a gray area where it's like, well, does Sony retweet it? Does Sony put it out, like promote it on their end? Would you? Because they're probably just as unsure as we are, where it's like, well, the game could come on our console, but if it doesn't, well, why would we promote something that's an Xbox? That would be like if they promoted Halo. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't make sense. And now they can congratulate the game on releasing and say nice things about it and stuff like that, but they're not going to retweet it and promote it and talk about it if it's not theirs, or if it's not releasing, at least if it's not releasing on their own console, right? So that is kind of telling too. That's a little scary if you do want it on PlayStation, right? If you're a PlayStation guy or gal and you want it there, that is a little telling. That's like, well, why didn't they do it? And even going down that path and going kind of anti the first point, like if you want to play devil's advocate of the fact that the game gets announced now before the sale goes through, well, it doesn't really matter. They can still change. Starfield and Elder Scrolls are the exact same examples, right? Starfield, we even knew it was potentially going to be a timed exclusive for PlayStation, but you know what? Microsoft could come in there and just flip the switch and say, nope, it's only on Xbox. Now, Elder Scrolls, like, we saw it. We had assumed when we saw it that it was coming out on all consoles, right? Or all platforms. And then now, Bethesda or Microsoft goes in there and says, nope, you're taking PlayStation out of there. I mean, it's kind of the same thing. Just because those games were announced before the deal, and those games were announced much earlier than Indiana Jones, doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? It's still Microsoft goes in and changes it. The only things that stay is Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo, which were contractual, like they were obligated to do that with Sony. They can't just, I assume they would get into some legal trouble if they tried to void that, right? So there's no way around that one. But the other ones, it was just, it wasn't a contract. I'm sure they didn't sign anything with Sony guaranteeing them that Starfield or Elder Scrolls was going to be on their console. So it's tough. I mean, like, obviously I want this game to come out on PS5. PlayStation's my primary thing, but I would get an Xbox for these games, and I'm going to be building a PC throughout this year, so maybe I would just play it on PC anyway. So, like, I mean, I get that the console war is real. People are into it. I've always tried to say, while people may tell me that I'm part of the console wars or that I'm pro this or anti this or whatever, I mean, really, I go where the games are. Yeah, Sony and PlayStation are my primary, like, place, but I mean, I play games everywhere. If there's a good Nintendo Switch game, I play it. If there's a good Xbox game, I play it. You know what I mean? So it's not the biggest deal to me. I would obviously feel most comfortable playing it on the console that I played the most or enjoy the most too, with PlayStation 5. But if it comes out on Xbox, maybe I already have a Series X or S at the time. Maybe I already have my PC built at the time. And again, this game is coming out probably 2, 3, 4 years away. So it's still a while we have to wait for this stuff. I do think, last thing I'll say, I do think we are going to get answers to a lot of if these games are coming out or not on PlayStation this year. Like, once that deal goes through, I would imagine within the first couple weeks or months of it happening and being official, where Microsoft does own Bethesda, I do think they'll say, Phil Spencer will say, like, here's the plan. I know there's obviously the opposite of that, where they're gonna, like, lead people on, make people believe it could come out on PlayStation, just to kind of, because they don't want to upset people, so they won't say it until, like, the very, very end. That's definitely possible too. I think they'll try to get ahead of that and just say, okay, look, we're gonna be honest and transparent. Here's the deal. This game will come out on both consoles. This game will be at timed exclusive. This game will only be on Xbox and never come out on PlayStation. I think we'll start to hear things like that. So let me know in the comments below, guys. What do you think? Do you think this Indiana Jones game will come to the PlayStation, family? Let me know. As always, make sure you guys are subscribed to this channel. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when all these videos go up. Again, if you guys want to follow my Twitter account, PodcastNow15 is my Twitter handle. Would love to have you guys over there. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I hope to see you all on the next video.